Welcome to this brand new episode of Cast It to the King. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and we have quite the panel with us here today. Introducing, and you know him as a quasi-regular, my father, Jack Mickle. And for the first time, Titans beat writer insider from A to Z Sports, Easton Freeze, is joining us on the show today. How are you doing today, my man?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. And we have a fourth guest that's on the way, RJ Ellison, formerly of Titans Coliseum Podcast, and we will bring him in here when he is ready to jump in. And we will get started with our first topic off the top, and that is this right here. The Titans' first overall pick, it's always the buzz of what's going on with the interwebs of what's going on with the Titans. Should they draft Cam Ward? Is it Shador? Should they draft Abdul, trade back? Should they sign a veteran quarterback? Should they get Sam Darnold? Should they punt the season and get a stopgap for 2026 potentially? And the latest comes from Paul Kuharsky, formerly employed by the Titans back in the day, saying on his latest X post that the Titans are not interested in Sam Darnold. If he's a short-term, cheaper option, he may be, but they will not be banking on him to be a high-dollar, long-term option. So I will kick it over to you, Easton, with everything that is going on so far this offseason. And before I get into that, he is ready to jump in with us. All right. What's going on, RJ? Can you hear us?
What's going on? Yeah, man. Sorry about that, man. I had some stuff come up at the last second, man. Good to be on here, though.
All right. And just to kick this first question over to Easton, with what's going on with all the back and forth of should we draft a quarterback, should we sign a quarterback, what's your reaction to the latest of yet another veteran, like towards the young end or the old end, just scratched off the list of potential Titans quarterbacks now?
Sure. So, they're in the position to take a rookie if they choose to. And the understanding coming away from the combine was that if they're going to stay at one, they're going to end up taking Cam Ward. I feel pretty strongly that Cam Ward is going to be the number one pick in the draft, regardless of whether that's the Titans or somebody that trades up to get him. And so that's the decision that the Titans are going to have to decide right now. They're going to have to come up with a decision on whether or not they think a trade down is going to yield them the return that makes it worth giving up the opportunity to take their quarterback in the future. And also, do they like Cam Ward enough to make him the first overall pick? Those are all questions that we don't have yet because they don't have those yet. And, they're hosting these guys. Cam Ward, I believe, tomorrow or Monday. They'll have him in the building.
Monday is Shador, yeah. Monday is Shador. Yeah,
Monday Shador. So that means tomorrow is Cam then, I believe. And, they had Abdul Carter in the building today. So they're getting all of these 30 visits out of the way for guys that could potentially be the top pick for them in the first round. And then you go to the free agent side of things. And like you said, we had the report from Paul Kuharsky. I've been saying myself for a couple of weeks now that the Titans are interested from a coaching standpoint in Sam Darnold if he were to be a reasonable get for them. But because of the market that he's going to drive, the bidding that's going to be going on between the Raiders, the Steelers, the Giants, the Jets, the Vikings, whoever is going to be involved in that bidding war for him, it's probably going to price them out because of the way that this new regime wants to build responsibly, not dedicate significant time and money to a guy long-term like Sam Darnold. They want to go a different route than that. And so at this point, I feel pretty strongly that the Titans quarterback next year is either going to be Cam Ward or somebody that's deeply uninspiring to fans, whether that's, more of Will Levis, somebody in free agency like Kirk Cousins, who I know is not a free agent yet, but I imagine he will be relatively soon. And the Falcons are just bluffing on that situation. There's, Jameis Winston, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers. These are the guys that you're picking from. That's the pool of guys that you're going to be picking from on the free agent circuit. Where, I think none of those guys are going to be super exciting to fans, but it might be the route that they take.
All right, RJ, what are your thoughts on this whole saga that we're in right now?
Say it again, my bad.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Easton just said, what's your thoughts overall on this quarterback fiasco Off-season fiasco.
Man, I just think in general, man. I think we need we're at the number one pick, man. We need some type of restart, some type of a different, vibe to this organization, man. And I just feel like, man, we done seen run pass, we done seen bridge quarterbacks, man. Let's go ahead and draft us a rookie quarterback that can throw the ball. Let's become a pass first team. We have never been a pass first team. I've lived in Nashville since '99. Been a fan, man. We have never been a pass first team since I've been here. It's time for us to change that, and I think we need to go Cam Ward with the number one pick. And I'm gonna stand on that. I really believe that he brings something that we haven't had as a franchise, man, and that's excitement from the quarterback position. I mean, we was in the group chat talking today, man, and basically said that the Titans quarterback Mount Rushmore is absolutely horrible. It is literally Steve McNair, Tannehill, Mariota, and Vince Young or Kerry Collins, whatever way you want to put.
Oh, so you're not including Oilers in this in that discussion then?
No, I'm just saying strictly the Tennessee Titans. You know what I'm saying? Strictly the Tennessee Titans. You know what I'm saying? Since they've been in Nashville, that is the quarterback Mount Rushmore that we had. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a better quarterback Mount Rushmore than us. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only like maybe two teams you could think of right now that have a worse quarterback Mount Rushmore than us. It's time to really take the most important position in football seriously, man, so we can actually compete for Super Bowls, actually win Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? We need a Lombardi, man. We're never going to be taken seriously as a franchise until we win one, and that's why I'm so strict on quarterback. I'm loud about it on Twitter that maybe the Titans can see me. I will, goodness gracious, run up to the freaking I will go to the facility and put a sign on the door that said, "Do not trade with the Giants. Take Cam Ward at 1 if I have to." For us, the goodness gracious, to take the cycle of mediocrity of trading back and getting Abdul Carter, because that is 100% a mediocre move, and I will stand on that.
All right, Dad, what are your thoughts on this? What's your position on this?
I've gone back and forth. I couldn't believe how many times I've waffled to Cam Ward, to Abdul Carter, to trading back, to just sitting this one out altogether. It's so confusing. But Chad Brinker, I mean, he kind of let the cat out of the bag. They said they're in full rebuild mode. I mean, they're not retooling. They're not one step away. They know that they're multiple years away. So there's multiple ways of getting there. When I say they're to a championship caliber team, and obviously you need offensive and defensive line and a quarterback. That's basically what you need, and they don't have. They got a little bit of a defensive line, though that could be improved. Our offensive line is well documented, and our quarterback drama is well documented. So, trading back, I was thinking that they would. The Titans would, to get those draft picks, because they want to let it be known that they want X amount of top 100 draft picks in the next few years. So they have 2 this draft. So it's going to be hard to get that number if they don't get some more draft picks this year. So, but my thing is this: I don't know where the Titans are going, but I do know this. This is Borgonzi's very first draft. And as anyone would know, if you're in a position of negotiating, your very first negotiation pretty much spells out who you're going to be for the rest of your tenure. So I'm thinking Borgonzi needs to go in hard. If we're going to trade back, we better get the moon, because if not, later on in this draft, you're going to find out that people are going to try to take advantage of you either way, whether you're moving up or moving down. So if you're going to trade out, you better get something, and a lot for it, so that you set the tone of who you are as a general manager. And you moving forward, if you're going to trade up or trade back, they know that you're not a pushover or stick and pick. And if you're going to stick and pick, I agree with you, RJ. I think we need a quarterback. I'm not in love with either of these quarterbacks, talking about Shador and Cam. I think you put these two in any other, I say the last 20 years, outside of maybe less than a handful of drafts, they wouldn't. Cam might go first round. Shador definitely would not go first round. So it's kind of it's a weak quarterback class, but you never know. It's a roll of the dice. No one thought that Patrick Mahomes was going to do what he did. No one thought Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady, and then everybody thought that, whoever with the flavor of the month quarterback coming out of these other drafts and, was going to be, Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that did not happen. So, It's a flip of the coin, really, if a quarterback is going to translate to the NFL. Thank God it's not my job, because I would probably get it wrong more than I'd get it right. But if you're going to stick and pick, get Cam. But if you're not, if you're going to trade back, and like you said, Easton, in your article on A to Z Sports, that they have to, if they're going to trade back, not be in love with Cam Ward. And if that's the case, then I agree, get something. I just think that I would walk away if it's not a huge haul, because as a general manager, I don't want to get punked, as my first negotiation. You know what I mean? Even though 2 picks is better than none, 3 picks, like you said, Easton, I agree 100%. But I want to set the tone for the other general managers moving forward. Hey, man, you come to me with something good, or I'm walking away. That's it. And if I'm sticking and picking, then it's Cam. And guess what, New York, you're not going to get your quarterback. But I'm wondering if New York's just going to wait for the Titans to do whatever, and then they're going to trade up with Cleveland. But that's another story altogether. So that's how I stand on the quarterback situation, Josh.
Yeah, and kind of seamlessly transitions into the second part of what we're talking about here today, is that any mock draft that you will find online at most will say one future first round pick. But in the last few days, the last 2 weeks, you will find even on ESPN that they are not offering up a future first round pick for potentially a franchise quarterback, to where, again, if you hold the first overall pick and someone believes that guy is the franchise quarterback, you got to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, like, you really want this guy. So, like, tough luck that Drew Lock that gave you that unfortunate win versus the Colts. Tough luck for you. This is the business you have to play now, is that you're not number 1 anymore, you're number 3, and it's going to cost you if you really love this quarterback in Cam Ward. And some of the mock trades that are out there is laughable in terms of it, like to your point, Dad, is that it seems like the NFL, with the broader media's help out there, is that they think the Titans are punks and fools, like, in terms of, like, hey, they'll take an extra third and an extra second in this year's draft, and maybe let's give them next year's third, because they've been missing out on third round picks the last few years. Let's give them next year's third. They don't need to worry about first round pick. Easton, what do you think of these mock drafts that have been, like, an overall sense of these mock drafts that have been coming out, whether it be from the Giants, Raiders, or the Jets, for quarterback needy teams? Like, do you find it like a bit odd, like eyebrow raising of, like, do they really think they could get away with that type of deal?
Yeah, I don't find it particularly offensive, actually. I do think it's a little bit unrealistic, just in the sense that I don't, if I'm projecting what I believe the Titans front office is thinking, how they're going to operate, they aren't going to, I have been told, not strongly enough to formally report it, but I've been told by some folks that I trust, the Titans aren't really interested in moving unless it involves a future first-round pick, right? And so I think that's kind of where they're at from a headspace standpoint.
Okay.
I wrote an article that your dad was kind of referencing earlier that, I think under the right circumstances, they don't need to get a future first-round pick. And so I actually can understand where these mock drafts are coming from, in the sense that if they are definitively out on taking Cam Ward at 1, if they've decided whether or not we stay at 1 or trade down, we aren't taking Cam. So we're either taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter here, or moving down and taking somebody else. And they have an offer to move to number 2 or number 3 with the Browns or the Giants, then I think that they should take whatever they can get in a trade. And I the reason why is that I think the Titans are in a very unique situation in this draft, where, again, if they're out on the quarterback, they don't see him as a guy worthy of the first overall pick, they have the chance to move down, turn that trade into a couple of day 2 picks, top 100 picks, which they need badly, and still draft one of the 2 consensus blue chip guys in the draft, the only 2 blue chip guys in the draft, and maybe even get your pick of the blue chip guys in the draft, depending on if you move to 2 with the Browns or you move to 3 and the first 2 picks are a quarterback. I think that you'd be making off like a bandit if that's how you feel. Now, to be more realistic, and to your point about these mock drafts today, 6.5, 7 weeks before the draft, saying that definitively one of these quarterback needy teams isn't going to pay a little bit more than they're showing on these mocks, I think that's unrealistic. I think that the Titans would be smart to hold unless they're already offering it, to be fair. Maybe they're already desperate, but if they're not to that point of offering what you feel like is the most they're willing to do, then you've got all the time in the world between now and draft day. There's no rush whatsoever. Hold their feet to the fire, make them sweat out free agency, make them realize there's nowhere else to run. Maybe they get somebody in free agency that they try to use as a leverage point. Oh, the Giants, they signed Aaron Rodgers. And so they come to you back at the negotiating table and say, we've got Aaron now, so we don't need to come to one, but we're still willing to do it, at the right price. I think the Titans would call their bluff on that and say,
you only got him for 1 year, probably. Yeah.
You don't really want to go into the season with Aaron as your guy with no backup plan. There's a reason you're coming back at the table. You still want to come up because you still are in love with whatever quarterback you're trying to come get, probably Cam Ward. And so I would not be worried. In some situations you are worried if you're a team trying to sell, that selling before free agency, kind of like the Bears and the Panthers did most recently, is the right time to get peak market value so that you keep those teams that may be coming up from getting to free agency and maybe landing a quarterback that gives them some more negotiating power. In this free agency, from a quarterback standpoint, I don't see any of these guys, aside from Sam Darnold, I don't see any of them and only one team can get him, right? So, of the quarterback needy teams, only one can have that power play. I don't see any of them being a convincing enough piece to come to the negotiating table and get a discount on the first round pick, right? So I think the Titans should wait, let a team sweat it out, and try to get them to offer the most possible, hopefully a future first round pick in a month or so.
And follow up with 2 questions. For Sam Darnold, what would be your, this is the number we will not go over if we're going to sign Sam Darnold. What do you think that number is for Tennessee?
What do I think it is, or what would I do? Because you're asking the wrong guy.
A little bit of both. Like, what would you think, okay, and what do you think the general consensus is there?
So based on what I've heard, if I had to guess what their number is, what they're sitting around thinking about, is they wouldn't be willing to do more than, I don't think they'd want to do more than a 2-year deal. So if we're talking 3 or 4 years, I think they're out immediately. And I don't think that they would want to do more than, the $32 million AAV range, guaranteed number, around $50 million or less would probably be that. That's kind of what I'm thinking their ceiling would be, which I don't think is necessarily close to. And maybe that may be a little bit generous. They may be like, we're not paying him more than 25. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. The point is, I think that their number, again, is pricing them out of whatever his eventual number is going to be. What my number would be, I'm a believer in whatever, it depends on the situation, I suppose, but I'm a believer in Sam Darnold and what he did last year. When I watch him on tape, I see something that's replicable. I don't see a flash in the pan. Is he going to, be a top 5 starter for you? No, but I think that he is a starting caliber player in the NFL and is going to be a starter going forward with whatever team he lands on, assuming it's not a complete and utter disaster. And so I would be willing to probably do a 3-year deal. I wouldn't want to mortgage the entire future on him by any means. But with the rising salary cap, if I had flexibility, I would probably be willing to do something in the $35, $36, $37 million a year range and guarantee a little bit more money, maybe in the $60, $70, $75 million range. Maybe that makes me a bad GM, but I think that the next couple of years, wherever he lands, is going to bear out the fact that would have been worth it.
And the other question is, in terms of the trade, the timeline of this. We know the Bears and Panthers did this right at the crux of free agency. I remember I did a podcast.
I think it was is either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, it was like a few weeks before free agency.
It was on the 10th. It was on the 10th.
Was it on the 10th?
Yeah, it was on the 10th.
So Monday. It was
on the 10th. I remember them saying it on the radio today. My thing is, though, the reason why the trade went so early is just because, they already had they pretty much said we're going to go into the season with Justin Fields. So it makes sense that why they would get the trade so early. We don't know what quarterback we're going to go in there with. So I just at this point, I think if they were to trade, they're going to wait till all the way up to almost draft day before they trade. You know, that's how I think.
Well, it helps when the Bears are being offered DJ Moore and a future first for that trade package and a future second. So that does help. So that does help. So for you, Easton, though, in terms of timeline, what would be the latest for you that you think that, like, where it be a day before the draft, the day of the draft, 5 minutes into the clock? Do you say if we get past a particular time, there's unrealistic chance that we get out of that first overall pick?
Oh no! I mean, what if the Titans are on the clock 7:00 p.m. on Thursday of draft day? I would say the deadline is 7:10. I don't see any. If you have your number and say, "Hey, here's the offer, meet it or don't," and you have the guy you're going to take, you have a bet, and this is in a circumstance where they're sticking at 1, which I think would be kind of foolish. But in this circumstance, right, they'd still be at 1, and well, maybe not foolish. Maybe they are actively weighing, hey, we're taking Cam Ward unless somebody meets this number, right? So whatever the circumstance is, I think that if they have their number and teams know that are inquiring, hey, here's where you're getting to, or we're not trading, and you have your backup plan, wait to the buzzer. Why not? Why not wait to the buzzer? If they want to meet your demand with 3 seconds on the clock, which logistically probably not possible, but you get what I'm saying, then let them. Why not?
All right. RJ, what do you think about this whole trade fiasco of Mock's no future first-round picks? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's beyond foolish. If they're not giving anything past, I mean, I think it's my opinion. If we don't get a future first-round pick, I'm hanging up the phone. I mean, I'm being real. If we're not getting a haul, we're not robbing somebody of their future, then I'm just hanging up the phone. In my opinion, we gotta stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, just some people that's just moving around, like we just gotta give up the first round pick just because. And I'm like, nah, we shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if we don't get a haul, man, just hang up on them. Just put the phone down, man. We gotta start playing. You know what I'm saying? We gotta start doing business a lot differently than what we've been doing, because I don't know what J-Rob was on, man. He wasn't doing good business with teams, in my opinion. For us, they were doing good at business for the other teams, but not us.
All right. Yeah. And Dad, what do you think about these trade rumors that are out there?
Trading now in the draft or trading down in the draft, who knows, man? I mean, really, who knows? I think if you want to sell some PSLs, though, baby, you've got to put some butts in the seats, man. Read your article about the Easton about your tour. I guess you were a 1 of 1, man. Congratulations on that tour.
But I did get a private tour. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I wish. Yeah, that's awesome. And you described the roof. I thought that. Anyway, I'm getting off top. The roof was the way you said chicken wire and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. Go check it out on the AZ Sports. But but if you think you can build a team by trading down, got it, man. We're playing chess here, not checkers. And I'm all in for getting somebody sticking and picking if that person is going to be a portion of changing your franchise for the better. But you got to sell those things. You got to sell those PSLs. You got to play chess. How are we going to be better the second, third, and fourth year down the road? That's good with Borgonzi and company, but not for Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan's got to win now. So. Yep. To your point, Easton, is that they need somebody that can, I hate to say it, bridge quarterback. And I am not a Sam Darnold fan. I think that he didn't do it, with the Jets or with the Panthers. I think maybe there could have been a system issue with him. I don't know. I'm not confident that we can take a quarterback and turn them into something. It seems like our quarterbacks go elsewhere and then they become something. I'll say this: if Cam Ward, how people like to compare all this kind of stuff, but Cam Ward has the appearance, the mental makeup of one Steve McNair. And I'm telling you,
that's the comparison.
If you're cool under pressure and you're tough and you can ad lib and have pocket presence, you don't need a cannon for an arm or quick release. You just need to know and be confident. And Cam Ward seems to have that. Which leads me to believe that, if somebody you can work with, it would be him. And Brian Callahan did say he wants somebody, early on after the season, and he wanted someone, his quarterback, among other things, can process things, but be cool in the pocket, be cool, calm, and collected. And that's something Will Levis is not. He has horrible pocket awareness. Cam has excellent pocket awareness, and he's cool about it. Now, he'll make some dumb mistakes, but he comes through in the end, or has come through in the end in the college ranks. So I don't like the trade. I hate all these mock drafts. Nobody knows in their right mind what the heck's going to happen. They're just, whatever. But if you want to put out there, hey, I think this player is going to get drafted in this position, regardless of what team it is, I think that's more feasible. But there's so many things up in the air. I think picks 1, 2, and 3 are going to call the rest of the line of the draft order, depending on what happens there. And then, maybe 6 and 7 if you throw the Jets and the Raiders in there. But I don't buy the trade downs per se. I don't buy the stick and pick per se. I think that it's a crapshoot. We don't know. We have our druthers. I'd rather this happen over that. I don't know. I haven't watched tape. I'm not a tape watcher. I don't have any, NFL Plus whatever thing for watching tape. So I don't know the value of players. I have seen Cam and Shador on tape based on other people's, review of them. Cam seems to be the better choice. And, so I would stick with him if they're in love with him, but I don't buy the trade as much in the first round. Second round and on, heck yeah. Yes, trade down. But I don't know about the first round.
Yeah, that's one of the things go ahead, RJ.
I was just going to pretty much, I was going to talk about Cam Ward just a little bit. I do like that he has played quarterback for a really long time. You know what I'm saying? So he's been at 3 different stops. You know what I'm saying? So
he's not 1 year Anthony Richardson. Yeah, he's not 1 year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't want no quarterback that has the potential to be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, Will Levis, AR, I don't want those type of quarterbacks. I need me a quarterback that is very experienced, that understands the position from day one. You know what I'm saying? They've been playing it for a long time. Like, I think that's the problem with the Tennessee Titans as a whole when it came to drafting quarterbacks, is that we will only draft like 1 year. The quarterbacks that haven't been playing for a very long time, like Vince Young. He only had played like 2 seasons at Texas, you know what I'm saying, as a starter. So by the time he got the Titans, he's at the highest level. He's got to learn something totally different about the quarterback position. I don't feel like we have to do that with Cam. I feel like day one, we input Cam into the Tennessee Titans system. He will be a good player from day one. Like, it's not going to be he got to learn how to do this. He got to learn this check. He can't read this. He's seen pretty much every defense that people have thrown at him so far. And I think that's why they inputted him in Miami, and he did so well in the beginning, because he already kind of knew what it was like to play quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I think he is a plug and play player here at Tennessee. And I really do believe the Titans' holes aren't as massive as our fan base is making it seem. I think the Tennessee Titans, if we were to draft Cam Ward, we can compete for the division year one. I'm telling you this now. He gives me very Jaden Daniels-ish vibes. He does. Jaden Daniels came from the Pac-12, the same Pac-12 that Cam Ward came from. You know what I'm saying? Now, he didn't have the jump that Jaden Daniels had to win the Heisman. But the Cam Ward, if Cam Ward would have had a defense this year, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? He just didn't get
wasn't that the Georgia Tech game he lost?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'll say this: the Georgia Tech game, you go back. No,
I'm saying, was that the one game? Wasn't that the team they lost to? Wasn't that the team they lost to?
Yeah, he lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Yeah, they was up 28-7 on Syracuse, and Syracuse came all the way back and won that game. And I was like, well, okay, you can't even blame him for that. You know what I'm saying? So his defense was horrible, man. If he had a defense, they probably would have won the Heisman. You know.
And if Shador Sanders had an offensive line, maybe we're having a different conversation about what kind of numbers he has at Colorado. So, and to close it out with Easton Freeze with us, and this part is going to be opinionated, and this was not in the notes. I'm sorry. Heads up in advance. In terms of what you want the quarterback room to look like, of all the free agents that are out there, what would you? I'll kick it off with this right here, is that in terms of preference of like what the quarterback room I want to have this year, given what Brian Callahan brought as a play caller last year, and potentially us drafting Shador or Cam Ward, it looks like it's gonna be Cam Ward probably. I would say if for my preference, I would say Cam Ward QB1, and get Taylor Heineke out there to be your QB2. Similar in terms of play style, and you can what he did in Washington and that small stint in Atlanta where he did show flashes over Desmond Ridder. I mean, but more so during his days in Washington. He showed you that he can be that type of quarterback that can throw from the pocket. He can he's a good backup quarterback, and he's that type of guy that would be a good mentor to such Shedeur or Cam Ward out there. And I mean, that'd be my preference in terms of QB1 and QB2 to have in the quarterback room. Easton, who would you want if you had to choose? What would be your ideal quarterback room going into 2025?
Yeah, I think if we're operating in a world in which the Titans are definitely not in on Sam Darnold, I'd say that my ideal quarterback room would be Cam Ward, and then one of the vets who I really don't. I mean, they all have. I don't really care. Rodgers and Kirk would be the best two, but both of them have different reasons for not wanting to be the guy with the rookie in waiting. Brissett is somebody that interests me. I could see Jacoby Brissett being a decent guy in that regard, even though he also just did this. These poor guys get in there. That's babysit all the time. Jameis Winston, cool, fine. Any of the startable veterans, I'd want to pair with Cam.
All right, RJ, what's your quarterback room preference?
Yeah, obviously, Cam Ward at the QB1. Number two, probably I like Jacoby Brissett. I think what Easton, you just said Jacoby, and say, yeah, I'll say Jacoby Brissett. You know what I'm saying? That's my number two. But that'd probably be my quarterback room. Will Levis, he could be quarterback 3, or we can shift him off to China if we need to. I don't want to see that no more.
Before we kick it over to Dad, Easton, quick question before we let you go, and then we get Dad's thoughts on his quarterback room. Will Levis, the elephant in the room, should we draft a quarterback first overall and we do sign a veteran, how likely is he still on this roster, whether via trade or cut? Because I personally see it to where, again, he's Malik Willis is not as good as Will Levis, but in terms of their situations from last year where he was QB3, you wanted him to show you something in the preseason, and then you got a 7th or a 6th out of Malik Willis. So percentage-wise, where would you say in terms of Will Levis, if we get a veteran and we draft a quarterback with our first pick, what's the likelihood Will Levis is still on our roster?
Yeah, if they could get 2 guys, I think the odds are very low just because this team is not liable to keep 3 quarterbacks, period. So there would probably be a trade or a cut there. If they go get 1 quarterback, I do know that they are earnestly interested in keeping Will Levis around next year. They're, I guess, maybe morbidly curious to see what he would look like in a system for the second consecutive year for the first time in half a decade, going back to his Penn State days. He's been bouncing from system to system, coach to coach, year after year. So they want to see if there's any development there, and he's cost controlled. He's essentially free to them. So why not, right? They're not actively dying to ship him off. They're just dying to get somebody to play instead of him.
Yeah, someone brought it with me today, Jimmy Clausen. He was a 2nd-round pick for the Panthers, and he never went away when they drafted Cam Newton first overall. He's still stuck around, so that's an option. Dad, what's your QB1, QB2 preference quarterback room?
Give me Daniel Jones. No, I'm just kidding. No Daniel Jones.
No.
I will go with another Jones. I would say Mac Jones. I think he's kind of like the lesser of all the evils, in my opinion, because he's young enough to play the position.
He beats us twice, and he want to sign him. I see where you're going.
Huh?
He beats us twice as a Jaguar. Now you want to sign him.
No, I have no love for Mac Jones. It's just I think that he would be the lesser of all the evils in terms of age, contract numbers, and talent, for that matter. He can win you some games, but I don't think he can carry a team. So, and he's been in the league for a few years. So yeah, there's that mentor thing going on. So yeah, give me give me Cam Ward if we're going to draft him number 1. And we'll take Mac Jones and Will Levis. I don't know. Let them battle it out and see what's going on. So that would be my quarterback. And it's sad because if you look at our quarterback room, it's right now, especially, but we don't have a great quarterback room at all.
My thing is though, and this is what I've been trying to say. If we had better quarterback play last year, where will we be as a team?
I count six. I count 6 losses was because of quarterback play last year. At least 6.
I go back, I look at the Bears game, I look at the first Colts game, I look at, I look at all these other games, like the Jets game, the what else game did we lose? I was just like, man, I'm just tired of it. I can't. The Packers game, we probably would have lost that Packers game, but would have been way more competitive if Will Levis didn't throw that pick six, and it's like everything went to the trash after he threw that pick six, and it's like.
Yeah.
We were in it versus the Vikings, despite the refs trying to rob us of that touchdown. So,
but I'm telling you, if you can score 24 points, just average 24 points, Tennessee Titans, for the love of God, get me out of 16 and 17 points per game, please.
Yeah.
If we could do that, give me one extra touchdown per game. I think, like you said, RJ, we could take the division. But we've been hovering at 17 points a game for like 2.5 seasons now, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
And that's why I said, what's the purpose of driving Abdul Carter? What he gonna do? You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with. Look, I get it though. You want to trade back and get picks and think about the future, yeah. But I mean, I'm not gonna want to go to the game because I know what's about to happen. We're about to go out there, run, pass, throw dink and dunks, and we're gonna lose football games, and our defense is gonna get worn out by the end of the season because they're on the field most of the game. And Abdul Carter, after his 4 years, probably gonna want to go to Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm good on that. I've seen it. Let's get an offense that make our team look very attractive, so we can get the defensive guys to come over here. And that's what I've been, explaining to a lot of people that's talking to the Abdul. I call them Abdul Titans. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking to the Abdul Titans, man, I'm like, we've seen this before. You know what I'm saying? We've been at this crossroad before, and it's like, it's like voting for the president with this number 1 pick. I swear, there's heated arguments over this. So
yeah. All right, we'll let Easton go per the rest of the show here. So thanks for joining us, Easton Freeze. It's a great pleasure have you on here with the rest of us, and looking forward to our future interactions, man.
Absolutely, guys. The pleasure was mine.
All right, you take care. All right, and then there were 2. All right, next topic we're going to dive in, and that is this. Coming down the wire today is that, just to set up this backstory here, is that Amazon bought the James Bond rights, 007, from, essentially they absorbed MGM, and MGM owns the James Bond rights. But the Broccoli family, I believe, has had their hands their clutches all over this IP. They didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't agree with Amazon, but apparently through a power play, Amazon now has full control of the IP, and the Broccolis are taking a back seat to this IP. And coming soon in the wrap is that Amazon's top pick to be the director of said new relaunched James Bond franchise is none other than Christopher Nolan himself. And one of the things that the article touches up on is that that's their preferred choice, but they're going to have to wait for him because he's dealing with a film called The Odyssey right now, and that this wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Christopher Nolan to be interested in because while filming and promoting his film Oppenheimer, he's expressed interest in doing a James Bond movie and said that, hey, had he done it earlier, then he probably would have never done Oppenheimer, most likely. And hey, for better or for worse, we actually got a great movie in Oppenheimer when all is said and done. If he can still do James Bond, that'd be fantastic. So I'll kick it over to you, Dad. What do you think when you hear Christopher Nolan could possibly be helming a brand new James Bond franchise?
I can see James Bond movies going 2.5 hours long now. Christopher Nolan has that going for him. But I love Christopher Nolan. I think that what he brings to the game, he makes movies seem larger than life, and he really focuses on character content and all that kind of stuff. And I think the James Bond franchise has grown a little stale over the last decade or so. My favorite one, basically, of the modern James Bond with Daniel Craig would be Skyfall. I think the other ones, they're good. I just, I thought that was my favorite. It's just, I think that James Bond has a way of telling a story. You have the potential of telling a story that you can't do with a lot of characters because there's so many backstories, there's so much history, there's so many things, tangents you could go on. And Christopher Nolan knows how to tap into that vein of saying, oh, I want, shoot that in me. I want some excitement. I want a larger than life movie. It may be overproduced, but I think that's a good choice. I'm like I said, a huge Christopher Nolan fan. So any way you can spruce up 007, I'm all for it.
All right, RJ, what are your thoughts when you hear Christopher Nolan could be director of James Bond for Amazon and MGM?
Yeah, if Christopher Nolan's doing that, man, I mean, obviously, to me, in my opinion, Christopher Nolan is a top 5 director in all of movie directing, man. I mean, he's directed arguably the greatest superhero movie we've ever seen, and that's The Dark Knight. So him touching a James Bond film, man, he's gonna do a damn good job, man. That dude, man, he puts a lot of attention to detail into his movie. He makes sure that the plot, is deep, that you can, even sometimes you may agree with the villain. You know what I'm saying? In a movie, man. And I've always liked that about his movies, man. So if he does that movie, man, I'll make sure my butt would be in the seat watching it, man. Because I always love James Bond movies are always good.
There was a meme from it's from The Dark Knight Rises, and it's like a Titans meme where you have like Bane's hand on like this general manager type, like on this like accountant shoulder. It's like, do you feel power? And it's like and that's Chad Brinker's hand on Mike Borgonzi. So,
oh Lord. So I say this. So Josh, man. So which one? What do you think is the greatest superhero movie ever created?
Oh man,
That's an excellent question.
If we are talking critically,
Josh is going to sit here and him and Hall for 20 minutes thinking about that.
If we are talking,
I want to see what it's.
If we are talking critically, Dark Knight is up there, obviously. My friend, my coworker here swears by God and on the Bible that the Batman with Robert Pattinson is the best Batman ever. I don't know about that. Quickly.
It was good. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It ain't better than no Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It ain't better than no Dark Knight, man. That movie, man. That's arguably one of the best movies I've ever watched. Like, man.
Dark Knight. I would say up there is Captain America: Winter Soldier, the second movie. Okay. Spider-Man 2.
You're not gonna like me.
Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire back in 2004. Logan, we just had that like over 5+ years ago. Logan's up there. And if you're asking me for guilty pleasures, I mean, definition of guilty pleasures that you like it and everyone else doesn't, but everyone loves this list I'm about to get. It's not the best superhero movie, but we all enjoyed it. Spider-Man No Way Home, when that thing dropped in 2021, that year and the year before was spread with fan speculation that 90% of it turned out to be true. So that was the big payoff.
I like No Way Home.
For No Way Home. Everyone will love Avengers Endgame. What's another
that's
one
top 3. I mean,
you got X-Men Days of Future
War
Past. You have that X-Men Days of Future Past back in 2014.
I like that one too.
I'm trying to think of like what's a good super. Oh yeah, the Snyder Cut with Justice League. I would put that up there as not only like we all enjoy it. I would put it up there like just outside the top 5 of critically best superhero movie, like that 4-hour cut, which I was able to and Dad, you saw this cut when you were here in Tennessee, a good 3-hour cut of that movie I was able to cut together, and it hummed right there. So I mean, yeah, that's all Warner Bros. Need to do. Just a quick side story, hire a good editor and you could still have a better Justice League movie than what we got originally in theaters in 2017. That's a whole nother side issue there. So Christopher Nolan.
I got one for you, Josh. Yeah. How about Man of Steel? You like Man of Steel?
I love Man of Steel. I love that movie.
That was a great movie.
I love that movie. I don't know why people hate that movie. I don't like. Okay, if you're saying if you're saying the neck snap, then okay, like like you got a better idea of stopping Zod in the city, going on a rampage. Yeah,
I got a guilty pleasure too. I like Batman vs Superman. I know it got a lot of hate. I know it got. I like
the director's cut. The director's cut made it better.
You can't act like the ending wasn't fire. Huh?
The director's cut made that movie much more palatable because it filled the holes to what we were like some critical people were of like, wait, how does that explain that? You don't show us on screen how this connects to that, and the director's cut fills those voids there, and then it actually takes a scene that's shown before and actually rearranges scenes in that particular movie in the director's cut. But in terms of James Bond, I agree with you, Dad. Skyrim, that was a movie we saw here in Memphis at Stage Road Malco Theater, if you remember that, back in 2011. How far ago was that? We're old. We are so old.
I've got a guilty pleasure. No one talks about it. Is The Eternals. I think that movie, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I did not like that movie, man. I'm telling you, I think that movie, if you could take it to the next level, not level, but you continue the storyline, I think it could be something. I don't know why, it's kind of like the movie I Am Number 4. I thought that movie was awesome. That's not a superhero movie per se, but they never continued with that storyline. I thought The Eternals was the same way. I loved it. I'm probably one of 10 people worldwide who liked it, but I loved it.
I do like the. Did y'all see the new Captain America movie yet?
Yeah, it's.
I have not.
I've made my video on that on my YouTube channel. Anthony Mackie.
I give it an 8. I give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. I know it got a lot of hate to it, but I liked it. I liked it. I see what they were trying to do with it, man. They trying to build his character up.
Too.
So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. They're still trying to work him into being a Captain America. So
that movie, that movie. Before, so we can get back to Christopher Nolan. I'll say this: is that Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford, great standouts of that movie. The script and the directing were big issues of that movie. It did them no favors, zero justice whatsoever in that movie. So for to get back on topic here, we went in a deep rabbit hole right there. For Christopher Nolan to direct James Bond would bring back to the franchise. I'm not saying it's palatable, the same comparison, but remember when Star Trek was being brought back up by J.J. Abrams in 2009. Dwindling fan base. There's no interest from some people. And then what did J.J. Abrams do with Star Trek? It brought new fans along to the franchise that weren't fans before. I think with Christopher Nolan, I'm a fair weather fan of James Bond. I'm not the biggest fan of James Bond, but you get me hooked in with someone like a Christopher Nolan that can give us an extra edge to a James Bond movie, and maybe it is making it 2.5 hours long. I don't know what the formula is with James Bond. I think he can bring. There is not one film in Christopher Nolan's resume that you can say it was so bad, you can't watch it again. His worst film, that some will argue, is either The Dark Knight Rises or that Matthew McConaughey movie with Interstellar. That's the sci-fi movie he did with him.
Oh, love that movie. Awesome.
Yeah, those were in terms of worst movies on his resume, were actually good on his resume. Are still good movies on his resume. So, who's
directing the Fantastic Four?
The guy that he was the showrunner for WandaVision. He was originally supposed to direct a Star Trek movie, and then he bailed out of that and jumped onto Fantastic Four. So Star Trek missed out on something, apparently.
Somebody needs to rescue the Fantastic Four. Hopefully that guy can do it.
I do like what they've done with the Fantastic Four. I do like the little setting that because it's very, very comic book accurate. So like that's one thing I noticed right off the bat when I first started looking at it. When I first seen it, and I like how it's kind of like in the old school type vibe. And it's like it's working its way up. Then you got Galactus just randomly popping up, and I was like, all right, man, this probably gonna be good. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? So.
All right, and we'll transition from that to this right here, and that no longer Kang, it is Doom. We've known that for almost a year now, when they did the reveal of Doomsday at Comic-Con, revealing that Robert Downey Jr. just before Deadpool and Wolverine came out, funny enough, last year was going to be playing Dr. Doom, and supposedly.
Wait, Josh, before you go any further,
go ahead.
How do you feel about how they pretty much announced it? Do you feel like they should have just announced that in the movie? That could have been a big surprise in the movie, man.
I don't think they could have showed it. In today's world, it is hard to keep that type of a secret. It is hard.
You think so? You think they wouldn't have been that? They probably just wouldn't have been.
Even with the No Way Home secrecy, where they never showed Andrew or Toby publicly, like officially. In any movie or
somebody
any promo.
Took a picture of that mug.
Yeah, they just brushed it off as fake, and it was. Again, it never came from Marvel's own mouth per se. Like they didn't as much money as it made opening weekend. It probably could have made more had they did include Toby and Andrew in the marketing. But even then, they still made the second most opening weekend of all time, that movie, despite the fact, and even if they did have him in there, it still would have never caught Avengers Endgame opening weekend. So they were still sitting pretty at 2. But yeah, to answer your question, there's no way they could keep that under wraps in today's world. But yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Doomsday. Some supposed concept art has come out with various photos of said movie that some are speculating it is from Doomsday, while some are saying no, some of this could actually be part of Secret Wars. And it reveals quite a lot, and one of the funnier ones was Star-Lord and White Vision on a couch eating pizza of all things, watching TV. And then you had one with the Young Avengers and Wong and Star-Lord at a bar somewhere. And then you had a Hulk village, which I think that particular concept art, I think that would be a Secret Wars type of setting right there. Because we're on the planet Earth. And like in the real world Earth, are you having a village of Hulks just walking around like it's normal society? I mean, hey, I guess in this world we have New Asgard for someone who wants to argue that. And then the other one was Dr. Doom. On the in the throne room, what looks like to be an evil version of Doctor Strange next to him, and then you have Reed Richards in chains on his knees, and then one of the concept art that drew everyone's attention is that there's concept art of a new T'Challa Black Panther out there. So just to open up your thoughts, RJ. Since we're talking Marvel a whole lot here today, what are your thoughts about this concept art of like? And by the way, the actual source was 404 error with his webpage the moment these got out, so you cannot find them on his personal website anymore. So that to me leads credence to that. Either this is real, and that maybe not. Marvel had a hand in saying. Yeah, go ahead and put it out there. Just put it out there. We'll act like it's a leak, and just to get the buzz going. So, what stood out to you with some of the concept art that's out there?
Before I speak on it, man, I say this one thing, man. As a Marvel fan, man, I had to lead groups. You know what I'm saying? I had to lead this and the other. Like, man, stop spoiling stuff, man. Just let it happen, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing I just don't like about the Marvel community is that you can't even like really discuss Marvel because like, as soon as say like the Daredevil show, like as soon as it come out, they're gonna be all over it and posting scenes and stuff. And I'm like, man, like, dang, I can't even get a chance to get home and watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so me as a Marvel fan, I like to watch Marvel and be surprised by stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? But also, Josh, you feel me mad at me. I didn't get a chance to watch some Daredevil yet, man. I've been so busy at work, working, man, trying to make money, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. For what I saw, because I looked at maybe like 2 or 3 of them. I looked at seen the Dr. Doom thing, and I think it was the T'Challa. And other than that, I was like, nah, I got to stop looking. I don't want to get nothing spoiled for me. So for what I saw, man, it does look like, man, it's going to be a crazy. Marvel's up to something, man. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to build up all these movies up, man, to get to the Avengers plot, man. So I know they're up to something big, man. They always are. They just, I feel like they saving all the money for the Avengers, bro. And I think because all these movies I've been watching, I ain't saying that it's low budget, but like you could tell the budget ain't into these movies. Like they're using normal budgets for these movies to explain the story to get to the 2 Avengers movie. The Kane, what was it? The Kane's down? Is they still doing the Kane's down?
It was supposedly it was the rumblings online, believe it or not, is that they swapped out Kane Dynasty from Doomsday, essentially. Same plot points, but they're swapping back characters. My theory is that the opening of Doomsday, and I have said this since last year when they announced it, is that they are going to show like the threat of doom right away, the same way that they did with Thanos in Infinity War, with that opening sequence with him versus like taking out the Asgardian ships and whatnot. My theory is that we are going to see the opening of Doomsday with the Council of Kangs in that arena, and then through whatever device or whatever mechanism, Doom shows up there by himself or with a couple of his own variants, and then he kills them off afterwards and just lays waste to the Council of Kangs and all the other Kangs. And then you have your multiversal threat, your story right there. That's my theory.
I'll say this though, and I tried to tell people this about Doom, like, because a lot of people, you know, they ain't real Marvel. I ain't just saying I'm a Marvel comic head, but I know one thing from the Marvel comics is that Doom is one of the strongest villains he's way worse than Thanos. Like people think Thanos is like the ultimate villain. I'm like, nah, Doom is way worse. You know what I'm saying? Galactus is way worse. Like, you know, like Thanos they did a good job with Thanos, you know, and explaining how strong he is, and you got to see his side of the story, and you start to feel him, you know what I'm saying? You start to believe some of the stuff that he's saying, you know. But Doom, like, he's the ultimate manipulator. He can get really, really strong. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, there's a reason why he's the Fantastic Four's, you know what I'm saying, main villain. You know, and he's fought the Avengers before. You know what I'm saying? It takes the Avengers to take dude down. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gonna see, man. Y'all gonna see. He's a crazy villain.
All right, Dad. What do you think about the concept art? What stood out to you, or do you think this is real or not?
Well, I have to take exception to the land of the Hulks, or whatever it is. That's not a race of people. That's a chemical accident, a laboratory accident. I mean, I got it. Maybe they shoot themselves up with whatever radioactive material, and then they automatically become a Hulk. I guess maybe that's what it is. But I saw that, I was like, come on, man, you're kind of pulling my leg a little bit on that. But the only one that really struck me was the one of him sitting on a throne. And then I think you made mention to the fact that working towards I guess in the long run, working towards kind of a Civil War aspect of where Dr. Doom is pretty much acting like Iron Man, and somebody else is going to be the Captain America on the other side, and it's going to be another Civil War, which to me is very interesting. I'd like to know the premise behind it. But that's the only art that I really paid attention to that grabbed my interest, was that one, because that speaks to his power. It speaks to, it kind of foreshadows what's to come in this movie and maybe the upcoming movies. So yeah, that's the only one that really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, so in terms of that Civil War that you brought up and kind of transition to the next part of this topic, is that one of the supposed plot leaks that came out in the last 48 hours is that it's going to show incursions, universes being destroyed, one being preferred over the other. Some of that was alluded to in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for that movie. And that the supposed leak is that, and again, if you're a comic reader, this is it's up your alley because this is essentially what Secret Wars was, is that you have multiple universes trying to vie for supremacy over the other, and Doctor Doom is, for some, is hailed as like the guy that's trying to keep the universes intact together, and that's what gets some of the heroes to join him. And some speculate, to go back to that Doctor Doom throne room, is that you see there's a lady and a kid right to his left side, and that is speculated to be Sue Storm and their son. And that is right up the alley of what Secret Wars was, and it sets up the ultimate showdown between Reed and Doctor Doom, like towards the climax. I mean, it's actually the front cover of one of the Secret Wars comics, and it would be interesting to, like, who would be those heroes? I question myself, like, who would be those heroes that would say, yes, we buy this message from this guy who we've never met before, and we see what's going on around us, and we trust him to fix this mess that Loki apparently can't seem to keep together with what happened at the end of season 2, which that's a whole wild card of, like, how does he play into all this, since he's like the god of the multiverse? Like, how does that come into play, like, down the line? One of the things that also perked my ears of interest was that Black Panther one, was that with T'Challa in Wakanda. That right there, I mean, again, going into Wakanda Forever, I thought when the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman happened, I think they should have recast the character. I think what they did on screen was more disrespectful than having to recast him. You don't kill him off screen. You don't kill him in the story. Like, I mean, to me, I thought that was more disrespectful than what they were trying to do, was trying to honor the character of, like, that's not, like, I don't know how that's honoring the character. But I think they should have recasted him. It would have made for a better Black Panther movie. And with that concept art, if it's real, of T'Challa, it brings up my theory, is that after Secret Wars happens, we are going to get a Black Panther 3 with a brand new T'Challa, whether that be a brand new main timeline T'Challa, or if this is T'Challa's son that was alluded to at the end of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And I think and again, the Russo brothers got their work cut out for them. Like, but I mean, from Winter Soldier all the way up through Endgame, they've done Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. They're taking on Doctor Doom, and they're taking on Secret Wars. Like, I don't have any doubt that they're going to deliver us the goods. The question is, like, how in the world do they piece this all together? Considering,
so that way they're actually letting the Russo brothers do it. Cause I seen something that said they weren't letting the Russo brothers do the Avengers movies. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm like, you might as well just let them keep doing it, you know?
Yeah. So
so long as we don't have the same writers from, Madam Web and Morbius and all that, I think we'll be fine.
I didn't like the second Avengers movie, the one with Ultron, man. Yeah, I didn't like. That
was the last one with Joss Whedon, and then
he was sorry.
And then they turned the page on that one. So, I mean, what do you think of all this, RJ? In terms of, and just before I kick it back over to you, is that with Infinity War, we had MacGuffins with the Infinity Stones. Like, every single movie felt like it was tied together. With, like, since Phase 4, and now in Phase 5, and then Phase 6 supposedly starting up with Fantastic Four in July, I don't see connective tissue except for the following: WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't see with any other TV show or any other movie the connective tissue that we have in the first 3 phases of Marvel with the Infinity Stones, even though films without Infinity Stones, it all felt connected. Like, this is the next chapter in the book, whereas now it's, you can skip this TV show, like, this one's not of importance. All you need to do is just.
I think they'll
like,
eventually
this,
be
and that.
important, man. I don't want to skip a TV show, especially if it has something to do with the Marvel Universe, because it's always going to tie back into something. Or there's going to be a character in the movie, in the TV show or movie that's going to be in one of the big movies. So I
Well,
say
we saw
this, though.
She-Hulk in that concept art, and I will not watch I could not. The twerking post-credit scene for that episode is what turned it off for me. I'm like, nope, this is not for me.
It was okay.
Nope,
It was
this is
okay. I watched
cringe.
it.
No, I don't need this. I'm not the target audience, apparently. So even if she appears in one of these Avengers movies or both, it's not going to make me go back to watch She-Hulk of all things.
I got you. I'll say this, though. My thing is that I think the right now the common theme between every single movie has been so far has been multiverse. They've been really, really harping on multiverse. I know you let me see what else it. I know in what the Captain America movie they kind of went back to the Eternals on one little part, but other than that, like there's been but strictly multiverse in every single movie. I'm pretty sure there's something going to be big with this multiverse that's going to change the whole dynamic of the Marvel universe, man. And I'm ready for it, man, because they really harping on this in every other movie, like you know what I'm saying. So we'll see what goes on with it, man. I try to I try to point out things that have been connecting throughout the whole entire thing. As in for the what I'm saying, for the first phase, I mean the first before Thanos, the Thanos era, the Thanos arc, it was all what I'm saying, Infinity Stones. There was a different Infinity Stone every other movie. You know what I'm saying? Just like this, it's something to do with the multiverse every other movie. So I guess with either Doom or Kang, or my bad, I didn't mean to say that word, but or Kang, it has to be something to do with they're going to take control of the multiverse and control it for their own. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be something they're going to either take the multiverse and use it for bad, and the Avengers probably need to do something to stop it from using the multiverse. There's got to be something around that. That's what I pretty much have seen.
So what do you think in terms of the supposed plot synopsis is that you'll have particular Avengers or heroes join the ranks of Doctor Doom? What do you think about that?
I think what Dr. Doom is going to do, man, he's going to not only is he going to make the heroes pick sides, he's going to make the audience pick sides. You know what I'm saying? That will be the if he comes with a plan. You know what I'm saying? That if they come with a legit, if they could really nail this story, man, they could really Civil War the audience. You get what I'm saying? If they were to do that, because Thanos almost did it. You know what I'm saying? There was people that, I agree with Thanos. You know what I'm saying? I remember I was right. I'll be scrolling on Facebook like, man, Thanos was right. Some of y'all do need to go. You know what I'm saying? And if Dr. Doom, if they really can nail it, I think they could do it with Dr. Doom, bro. And you know what I'm saying? They already had the Civil War, because like there's people that were arguing, oh man, I feel where Captain America coming from. Oh, yeah, I feel
Civil
where
War was the one movie, yeah.
And I feel my thing is what I liked about Civil War is I really understood both sides. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Bucky couldn't control that he was killing his parents, but at the same time, if my parents got killed, I wouldn't know how to act either. I'd be ready to kill somebody too, man. And especially if I know who the killer is, I would have been mad too. I felt where both sides were coming from. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, it's a funny parallel where actors are actors for a reason because Chris Evans's politics off screen is nothing to what Steve Rogers' politics were on screens, like very conservative per se in terms of no registration and all that stuff. But Dad, what do you think about, like, who do you think would be the character or characters that looks at Doom and says, you know what, I'm going to join up with him? And the one thing I cannot grapple my head around, but I can see the conflict, is if I don't think they're going to do this. If they do a face reveal, like Doom takes off his mask and they pivot from the comics and it's not deranged, deformed, like Wade Wilson style for Deadpool, and it's like the Robert Downey Jr. face. He looks like Iron Man. Like if he were to do that in front of some of the Avengers and Spider-Man, then yeah, that could be like I think
you see what they're doing, right?
Whoa. It's like, whoa, you are you him? Like, are you Tony from another universe? Like, I could see the conflict with Tom Holland's Spider-Man of how they built him up and how if he were to see that reveal, how that would conflict with him. But to you, Dad, what do you think of who could be the hero that says I'm joining forces with Doom? He has a good argument.
So I think that's a tough question. I think that Loki. I think Doctor Strange would be another. Gosh, Loki. I had another one. You were asking me. I had two right off the top. Loki was one of them. The other, Deadpool. I think would be another one who would align with him.
Oh my Lord.
I think that people who have a dog in a fight for, say, they've lost a loved one or they've been to other multiverses and they've had a good experience, they're the ones who are going to want to keep it around and not mess with it or destroy one in favor of another. So those would be those kind of stand out to me. I'm sure there'd be others that would do that. I think to me, it sounds like it would be easier to pick those who would not be in favor of it. But I think Iron Man, if he wasn't, already Doctor Doom, would team up probably with Doctor Doom. So, Loki, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, and the old-fashioned Tony Stark Iron Man.
If I had an admonish button, I'd give it to you because I would say Loki is a non-participant because he's still in that throne chair trying to hold this universe together. So he's not on your he's off your list. He is off your list right there.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like they want you to fall in love with these superheroes. So when that time comes, you're going to have to pick a side. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like that's what they're about to do. And that's why they got Robert Downey Jr. to do the Dr. Doom thing. And I'm telling you, like, they're going to make you pick a side with this. And I feel like if they do that, it's gonna beat the Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, man. Because it's gonna be a lot of arguments. It's gonna be a lot of to make you keep watching the movie.
Well, that's a formula to a successful film. I mean, you look at a lot of the successful films. I mean, Star Wars, Marvels with the Infinity Saga. If you look at, oh my God, there's so many. It's either this or that. I mean, to a lesser extent, you got to look at Twilight. You were team, whatever over the other one, the vampire or the werewolf, whatever. I mean, people not necessarily physically fought, but they joined teams, right? They were like, hey, I'm team so-and-so. So if you bring the audience into something like that, you give the audience a vested interest. They're not just going to see a movie. They're there to experience something that they have a vested interest in, and you make them choose sides. I mean, hey, when Tony Stark found out that Captain America knew that who killed his parents, you could just see it in his eyes.
Yeah,
it was like
everybody.
Oh
you
my
could hear
God.
a pin drop in the audience when I saw it in theaters.
Yep, and I think that was the springboard to the rest of the series. So, and it doesn't get stale. You know what I mean? But you can't keep it going for 6, 7, 8 movies. But you can get it going for at least 3, maybe 4, depending on how you work it. So I think to draw the audience in, I agree with you, RJ. Get them to pick sides. I think that's a great formula for a successful movie franchise.
All right, and before we kick it off to this last topic, we will let RJ go because he did not have time apparently to watch these first 2 episodes of Daredevil: Born Again. So thanks for joining us, RJ, and look forward to having you on later.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we can pick Cam Ward at #1, man. I'm praying to the God. Please pick a quarterback. I can't watch Will Levis no more.
All right, all right. You take care, brother.
All right.
All right, and like before, there were 2. Then there was 2.
And there was 2.
Daredevil is back in his prime on his throne of great gloriness that was with the Netflix shows. the first 2 episodes are 10 out of 10 if you had to rank it. It is up there of a great start. It profoundly kicks the door on any narrative that Disney was going to codify this and Disneyfy it. They weren't going to respect the Netflix stuff. They weren't going to do R-rated TV show. They weren't going to go down the route of like any of the TVMA route stuff. Like it's Disney. They don't do that. Then Deadpool and Wolverine came out and they said, yes, we can do that. Now Daredevil Born Again. This show has gone through multiple treatments. It has gone through different iterations with pre-production. During the writer's strike, they scrapped pretty much all the script, and they brought on the fellow that did Punisher Season 1, the showrunner. He's now headed up this show, and it shows. The first 2 episodes, and just to get general thoughts on this, and then I'll get Dad's general thoughts before we talk spoilers, just general thoughts. Spectacular. Great opening sequence. You don't get lost in this show, even if you have not seen the Netflix first 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix. You don't get lost. And if you have seen the first 3 seasons, you're in for a treat because there are payoffs, there are continuations, and then there are loose threads of particular characters that are related to other characters from the previous show that you're like, ooh, this may be interesting down the line if they actually touch up on this. So just thinking on that with 2 episodes in. Generally, this is not a spoiler alert right here when I say this. The score, the music in this show is chef's kiss. It is the Daredevil theme, and it elaborates on it even more. It brings it out even more out of the shadows, per se. It takes a concept of music, and then it makes it better. I think they're the Newton brothers who composed this show. Are coming off of X-Men 97, so they are well akin in the Marvel family in terms of making music for them. So they're like just the opening credits that people love about Netflix. They will love this opening credit sequence alone with Daredevil Born Again. And I think where this story may be headed a lot could mean, I mean, just in these 2 episodes alone could set up very, very intriguing possibilities for future episodes and then also future movies, like, say, Spider-Man, for example, in New York City, how this could intertwine with that. All right, Dad, just to bring you in for general thoughts, what is your first initial take from these first 2 episodes generally?
So, no spoilers. So, the first thing that got me, I agree 100% with everything you said. You brought out the score, which I wasn't thinking about talking about, but now that I think about it, yeah, the score is absolutely phenomenal. But something as simple as the opening credits scene it brings into the account. It kind of reminds me of 007 actually when it first pops up. How it shows Daredevil as concrete crumbling, right? And then at the end of the credit scene, it shows him being put back together whole. And as you go through the first and second episode, you realize, now I know why they're calling it Born Again. It grabs you. The first 5 minutes of the first episode grabs you because there's so much going on. I love the character who plays Bullseye. As far as the actor, your mom liked him in
Netflix.
The Heart of Dixie. He was the Southern the guy who owned the bar in that. One of the guys he owned the bar in that series. But anyway, it was a comedy, so to see him play this role is kind of weird. So I love that character, and I think that's going to pay dividends down the road. I liked, Mr. Fisk, his character, D'Onofrio, whatever
Vincent
the actor.
D'Onofrio,
He's one of my favorite actors of all time. I love him. Played the heck out of that role and continues to play the heck out of that role. And some of the Easter eggs, some of the things he said in episode 1 was kind of funny. Talking about Spider-Man and vigilantes and stuff like that. I thought was funny. So yeah, it kind of opens the door for that. But I'd give the first episode solid 9.5, if not a 10, and then the second one I'd give about a 9, 8.5 to 9. But I know why. The second episode was kind of okay. You saw the first one. Let's see what happened. The aftermath. So that's what this typical second show will do if you go the first route of all, immediate action and everything. And then the second one is kind of, okay, now that the dust has settled, what's going on? I suspect episode 3 and moving forward is going to get a lot more because, the character of Daredevil was really not present outside of the first 15 minutes of the first episode. So hopefully we get more of that. Well, I'm sure we will. But I think that I want to get more backstory on Kingpin or Mr. Fisk. What happened from the Netflix series after season 3 until the first episode of season 1 here. What happened? That's what I want. I want to know that backstory.
So it's actually out there in public knowledge. He appears in Hawkeye, the TV show, at the end as the mafia boss. And then he was in that horrendous Echo show that they did for, they marketed it as Disney Plus's first ever TVMA Disney Marvel show, Echo, come, all the episodes dropping at once. Now we know why. The show's not good. There's no anticipation for the next episode. So you had to drop it all at once. So you have that of what happened. And I think you could just, even the Hawkeye stuff, you could live with Hawkeye and say, okay, that's what happened with him. You had what happened with him at the end of season 3. He's thrown in jail. He's beat up to death by Bullseye and Daredevil. So in terms of the stuff that Vanessa talks about in the episode, but before, and I'll say this last thing before we jump into spoilers, is that I think this is one of the triumphs, I would say, for Kevin Feige because originally, if you wanted to believe the rumors, is that this show was going to be a complete reboot. It wasn't going to have anything tied up with Netflix. It was going to be its own canonical show within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it wasn't going to acknowledge any of the Netflix shows. So good on Kevin Feige to not only change that when they finally saw what they had during the writers and actor strike, and also kudos to a TV show, a Marvel Disney Plus show, a Disney Plus show in general. If there's one out there in existence, I would like to know which one it is. It is longer than 30 freaking minutes. An episode an hour long. Thank you, Jesus Christ. We have an actual episode runtime, at least for these first 2. Now, if the rest of the show is 30 minutes long, I will be so upset if that's the case. The storytelling does not warrant 30 minutes. It needs to be at least 48 minutes to an hour long with the way they tell their stories, especially with this continued canonical Daredevil story that they're continuing off of Netflix, but in a different name for legal purposes is why they're calling it the way it is. So, and now with that, we will jump into the spoilers right here, and I will pull up the label for a few seconds, and then I will take it down. First 15 minutes, oh my goodness gracious, when Foggy gets it. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Literally, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, I heard rumblings online that they weren't going to be Karen and the actors for Karen and Foggy were not going to be in the show much. I heard that, yes, when they were being brought on. They weren't supposed to be in the show originally, and then they went back and they actually said, yes, we are continuing the Netflix story. Let's bring them back for obvious reasons. I heard they weren't going to be in it a lot. I'm like, okay, if you're going to kill, like, if you're going to kill them off, if you're going to kill one of them off or both of them off, you wouldn't do it the first few episodes, would you? No, they do. The first 15 minutes, they're like, hey, by the way, yeah, we're definitely keeping on to those loose strings from season 3. Bullseye had an axe to grind with Foggy and got him, and almost got Karen right there in that street.
Yeah.
What did you think? Just that first 15 minutes. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Foggy's like his character and the guy who plays him. It's kind of like your favorite, I don't know, squishy animal that you love to squeeze. You know, over the seasons of the Netflix episodes, you started to feel for him, and he was that, I don't know, the guy you rooted for that was kind of the underdog, or I wouldn't say underdog, but I don't know, just the goofy guy, right? A goofy everyday guy that you kind of just grew to. It was like the lovable brother you never had or something, right? So I think that to me was like, oh my God, it's been a while since season 3, and it's a new kind of startup of Daredevil. So I didn't expect to get drawn in, but I did once I saw his character. I was like, oh, there he is. All right, cool. It's Foggy. Karen, I never really had an attachment, but Foggy I did, because just of his, I don't know, his just goofy nature. He just seemed like out of place as far as in the lawyer world, the legal world that he was in. But, he proved his worth. And for him, and after he was shot, it was like the look on his face. Like, God, it was awesome. It was just the look on his face is, it's like, oh man, I can't believe, is this really, am I getting ready to die? I'm dying. I'm actually, and then you see the reaction of Daredevil, which destroys him, because it takes him to a dark place that I don't think he ever wanted to go to. He didn't ever go that way with Kingpin. So for him to do that because of what happened to Foggy, it took him to a dark place. And I think a lot of, especially dads, or men in general, could relate to something like that, because it's like, if someone hurt my family, I do the same thing, right? So I think it's just a natural human emotion and reaction to that. It's very visceral. Hey, kudos to his armor, because he got hit with about, I don't know,
a whole bunch of knives.
Blades. Yeah. He looked like a dang porcupine after it was all said and done. I was like, hey, dude, who makes your vest? One
thing that did happen, I don't know if you noticed this, season 1 and season 2, I can't remember an instance in season 3 where you had, in season 1, you had the hallway scene, one continuous shot going on in that hallway scene of season 1, where he's trying to rescue a girl or something. And then you have the episode where he's fighting with like his chain, Ghost Rider type chain strapped to his hand, and that hallway stairway case after that episode with Punisher in season 2. That fight in the bar, like the moment like he like whams, like he swings into Bullseye through the window, it is just that same shot, like panning back. I'm like, oh wow, we're gonna do this again. Yes. Yes.
Good choreography.
Yeah, good choreography.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different stuff, and I just and how in the world does he survive a fall from a 4-story? It looked like a 4-story.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, and there is a reason.
On his chest neck area.
There is a reason behind that. Is that if you remember, there was a post-credit scene at the end of season 3 after Kingpin had busted Bullseye's back up against the pillar. There are surgeons on him, and they're inserting a metal type of skeleton, like in his bones, like Wolverine style. And some folks speculate that's the reason he survived, and that he has like a vibranium, because adamantium, like in the comics, he has an adamantium skeleton. He doesn't have the healing factor, obviously, but he has an adamantium skeleton to where nothing breaks, essentially. But he can still get hurt.
You talking about Bullseye?
Yeah, for Bullseye. So in this world, one could surmise that is adamantium of some, like not vibranium of some sort. That because I was having the same thing. I'm like, oh my god, like he just, wow. And then when he moves, like he like looks up with his eyes and then moves his neck. I'm like, how in the no way. No. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, they paid off that post-credit scene for you. And yeah, it explains. That's going forward from that episode. Just him being like hanging up the cowl, the horns, putting that behind him. I think the duality between Matt and Kingpin, especially when they have that diner. Chit chat. Even Kingpin's probably like, I made you a promise I wouldn't hurt your friends. That wasn't me. That wasn't me that did that.
Yeah.
Now he probably sees that and if you remember, Punisher said a line to Daredevil when he was chained up to that chimney on season 2. Like they're going back and forth, like, why don't you kill? Why don't you cross that line? Why does Punisher cross that line? And Punisher is like, I think you're a coward. You're only one bad day away from being me. And that was Daredevil's bad day. And I look forward to seeing what the reaction to the Punisher is going to be when he finds that out and has that confrontation with him in this season, which he will be appearing in, funny enough. So that will be an interesting...
So like you said, duality of good versus evil within one's own self, right? And Matt was battling those demons and seemingly had overcome a little bit, of the bad. He didn't want anything to do with it. New day, moving on. Everything's going to be handled according to the law. I'm not Daredevil anymore. And then you move to Fisk, where he's in the first episode, he's getting dressed and he's opening up his closet and he's feeling just like Daredevil did, because he was blind, feeling his outfits because he knew what a suit felt like, right, for him to choose. So did Fisk. He felt, even though he could see, he only had half the suits that Matt had. Anyway, as he paused on the white one, he looked at it and he was like, yeah, I like that suit, but he chose the gray suit, the more traditional suit. And so that was like, oh, okay. And then I think it's episode 2 where he's not at the diner. The diner, he had clean hands, but on the desk, wrapping the desk after he became mayor, his knuckles all messed up, he'd been fighting. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, what's been going on there, Fisk? There's been something going on. It's funny how
with the police chief, whole interaction, great writing, great setup of camera panning, where to cue up the shot next. Hey, you ever been to Philadelphia? Their subs are really good. And then as he's tilting up that wrap, it's what's either his wife and his son or his lover and his love
child.
Yeah, love child. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would be that picture to blackmail that police commissioner from not retiring? So that right there.
That was pretty good struggle. Pretty good story.
Ooh, you're not getting out of this alive, man. If you still retire, there's no way.
No, I agree. And seeing the Kingpin has never put, or I should say, Fisk never put Kingpin in a closet. He just put him in a darkness for a little bit, hid him away, but he didn't shut him out. Whereas Matt shut out Daredevil. He's like, absolutely not going back. Absolutely not going back. And you thought, well, something's got to happen. You know what I mean? And then for him to take on that case of these alleged cop killer who
White Tiger,
we find out is White Tiger. Why would he take on that case? I mean, obviously the script said take on the case. Okay, got it. But why? I mean, I understand it had to lead to this. I got it. But if he's turning, I know he wanted to. There was just so much going on in that scene, or those.
Well, he could hear what was going on in his in his waiting room.
Yeah, and he's trying to fight. He's trying to be the good guy, trying to fight for truth and justice, and especially when bad cops are on your heels, you want to take up for the little guy, and I think that's what he thought he was doing. Now it turns out not so much. And because he took that case, we find out that Daredevil can't stay caged for long. You know what I mean?
The end of that episode where where those rogue cops show up. It's like something snaps. Like, okay, there's like 3 of them, and the way he took them down, one's gonna have a busted arm, like bent the wrong way, but the other 2 take hits to the head to where I'm like, how are you alive? You cannot be alive in the next episode going forward. Like, that's gonna be one.
That second guy,
massive head trauma.
He threw him down. His neck snapped. There's no way he's alive.
Against the fridge and then against the floor. Yeah, at least that one.
And he acted so. And then Matt, it's self-defense, right? I mean, it's self-preservation. You gotta you're either going to die or you're going to survive. One of the two. And he chose to survive. Whatever. I think he should have, but because he did what he did, it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict who've been not using or not drinking for 20 years, and all of a sudden they go on a bender one night, and then the next day they're like, "Wow!" They're so mad at themselves. All that work, all that effort that I put into trying to turn a new leaf and be the good guy, and I just ruined it in a matter of seconds. Wasn't his fault, but still, I can't go back now. I can't. Now, what do? You cover it up? He doesn't know he's got busted glasses. Somebody's going to ask about that. He's got his blood on the floor, so his DNA's there. He had dead bodies. They know he's attached. They know he's attached to the case, obviously. And they work for Fisk because they're probably dirty and on the roll with, the mayor.
I have a theory on that. I don't think this is Fisk related. I think, and I'm going to look this up right now as we speak right now. I'm going to pull up and I'm going to, is this the right one? I want to make sure this is correct. Dude's holding him up against the wall, and I'm going to try to mute this and then see if I could try to bring it up on your screen as I see it. Put him up against the wall. Aha! Yes, it's right there. I want to see if I can try to bring this over to you right now. Stand by. I need to. All right, here we go. Can you see that?
Yeah.
There is a skull right there.
Yeah.
That these rogue cops
a Punisher skull?
That's my theory, is that these are Punisher's dudes or crazy leader or crazy fellows that want to aspire to be the Punisher. So that's my theory right there, is that these are not Kingpin's dudes. These are Punisher dudes.
Yeah, but Punisher wasn't that. He wasn't crooked.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying like maybe acolytes of like what the Punisher, like the symbol of the Punisher, what that stands for is what they're probably twisting it in their own weird ways.
So if that's the case, if they want to be like the Punisher, like a vigilante almost, and they were accosting that dude who got away because the White Tiger dude came involved. What was that guy doing that they, as vigilantes, because he wasn't a fighter, right? The guy that they got away.
Mugging, yeah. What did he do?
So what? It's got to be something he knows. It's got to be something he knows, right? Because it ain't something he can do unless unless like the White Tiger, he needs an amulet and a costume or something. I think it's something that he knows. He's not a fighter.
Or
you know what I mean? Or something he saw.
Or maybe he is, and he's just masking this whole facade of like, oh, I'm just an innocent guy. Why are you mugging me?
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. Could be another villain out there. I don't know.
There is another villain they haven't introduced yet. There is another fellow that some would argue that he has been introduced, painting like there's a mural that's being painted of like Kingpin.
Saw that.
Some are saying that's the villain painting that mural. That's the main antagonist, the main villain of the show. And
the guy on that mural, the actual mural itself, you got Kingpin, but there's another face in front of him.
Yeah.
Or to the side of him, it looks just like Trump to me with the hair. I'm not lying. I was like, why are they painting Trump on there? I didn't get it.
No.
It did look like it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying it was.
What do you think the idea of Mayor Fisk? I think what they did, like right out the gate, almost screamed the epitome. Like you bring it up. I didn't want to say, like, I wasn't gonna bring it up the name Trump, but the way, like, they're in that car, they're in that car, talking about like, here's your schedule for today, and here's what you're going to do. Here's the hands you're going to shake. Like, the first 90 days is, like, status quo. Like, the first 100 days status quo, like, even though you're supposed to be the agent of change. And then he's like, why are we not moving? Why are we not moving? Yeah. Walks up to the workers like, get this hole fixed. We're waiting for the red tape to be cut. I have cut the red tape. Bring your men here right now.
Yeah.
Similar to what's going on.
Traffic's still going to be there because it's still going to take them a week to fill the hole. I don't know. It's like, okay. I think they could have done a better example than filling a hole in the street. I thought it was funny.
It got the point across of like.
But you can get the point across in so many other ways, I think.
And they said it word for word.
I think that was the weak sauce on that. That's why I would give that one episode, not because of that one scene, but because, I don't know, it was not up to speed with the rest of the series so far. So that's why I'd give it 8.5 to 9 instead of a 9.5 or 10 like the first one. But I get the point. He's Mr. Fix-It, right? I got it. But I think he's jumping in there. When the city is down, there's no way but one way, and that's up, right? Mm-hmm. So he's gonna, I think, some movies and some series, you have one person who's creating a problem, so at the same time he or she can bring somebody in to fix the problem. So he's funding himself here, and he's also being the hero on this side. So I think that's kind of like what he's doing. He's gonna create a problem, hence his criminal empire still going, but he's got, as mayor, going to be the guy to come in and pay for, maybe a vigilante, maybe he gets Bullseye out of prison or something. Maybe he's the guy who's going to start cleaning up the streets. And in the process, oh, by the way, let's get rid of Daredevil or any of my other competitors who may want to wish me harm. So I think that's, he's the ultimate, Two-Face,
Yeah.
So I think that's how it's
Bullseye out
playing
of
out
prison
to me.
after him trying to kill Vanessa in season 3. I don't think he wants to.
Well, yeah, I think that's going to go south. I think he's all going to have a soft spot for Vanessa, obviously, but I think it's kind of like Thanos, where he had to sacrifice his daughter his adopted daughter, for the Soul Stone. And he loved her with all his might, probably the only person he ever loved. But for the greater good, right? And in this case, Fisk, the greater good of New York, right? Honestly, he loves New York. He's a New Yorker through and through, right? And he honestly believes what he's doing outside of his criminal empire because he's a bad guy. But the other part of him says, I love New York, right? And I'm going to do everything in my power to make the streets safe. Even if that means I take over the streets, right? I do what I do and stay in my lane, but you as everyday citizen, I'll make sure you're good to go too, but just don't get in my lane. Because when you do, then I take you out regardless, because I love New York. And if Vanessa is caught in the middle, I think it'll hurt him. But I think ultimately he's going to choose New York City himself over her.
Yeah, I think with that little, it wasn't like that Punisher tattoo tattoo on that guy's wrist or something. I think I think that's going to be an interesting route of. Because the first 2 episodes, like even when they dove into it with episode 2, with are there dirty cops out there, like two-faced cops out there? Is the commissioner a part of this? Like, is he letting this slide down? What better way for Kingpin than to usurp the commissioner? Of saying like, hey, these are your guys, following the fellow that I said that I would protect this city from, and the skull-faced Punisher guy. What better way for Kingpin, like for that opportunity to be like presenting itself for him as a mayor is like, ooh, I wasn't planning on this, but hey, let's go ahead and wrap this. Like, let's go ahead and capitalize on this. And I think in terms of that going forward, I think that's going to be an interesting arc that they do. I did find it interesting, like how like they set up a new love interest with Matt Murdock. I forget the character's name. I mean, I can see the charm between the two. But I did find it interesting where you had Kingpin's right-hand man, like on 2 separate occasions, like for her to get signatures from him. I'm like, what's this about? Like, what is this? Like, how is she going to be tied up? And then it's like, oh, what? Marriage counseling with Wilson Fisk and Vanessa? I mean, what do you think about that, Dad, with counseling between Fisk and Vanessa?
I think it's honest. Kingpin, I think, is, if nothing, at least he's honest. Not honest. I should say, well, honest could be different things. Truthful he's upfront about what he believes. He'll tell you, I'm going to break your neck, but it's going to kill me because I really like you a lot. That kind of thing. I think when he said he loves Vanessa, or he came back to say, in the first episode and talks to her, he's like, look, you feel for him a little bit, because he's reaching out to his wife. He seems to love her in a weird sort of way. And then his campaign manager says, or his I guess chief of staff says, well, you're not bringing home the traditional voters because your wife is not part of your life, really. So let's go to counseling, basically, I think, was the result of that conversation. And I think he wants it just because he said, I don't want to lose my wife. Mm-hmm. Okay, great, fantastic. I don't think counseling is really going to help him, though. I think he's on board. I think it's Vanessa is not on board for obvious reasons. So
it was at the end of episode 1 where he has his campaign victory, and he's like, I know about Chad, or whatever his name was.
Adam.
I know about Adam. It's like, please don't kill him.
Don't kill him. I thought it was funny.
I betcha he killed him. That's where I'm connecting the two together.
I bet you won't, because he gave his promise.
You were asking like the second episode, you see him with the bloodied fists. Mm-hmm. Who did he beat up?
Yeah, but that could be anybody. I don't know.
Or maybe he did beat up Adam, but he didn't kill him. How about that?
He didn't kill him. Maybe. Could be. Yeah. I think he's a man of his word, though. I think Fisk is a man of his word. He's strange, twisted, chaotic, evil mind of his, right? But I think he's a man of his word. So I think moving forward, I don't think Vanessa's going to be in these plans of his. I think she's not going to be in her plans. He's not going to be in her plans. I think she's going to try to distance herself, but yet still put the facade up because, she is the mayor's wife and they do have a business together, or she does, that started out of his, that she has grown. So she's not going to just step away from that. And she has power, at least in that circle, not, that the public knows about. So that's going to be an interesting arc as far as the relationship between he and her. And one I'm interested to see how it goes. I don't think it's going to be an exciting arc, but I do think it's going to be used as leverage and maybe a cliffhanger in one of these episodes as far as what happens to Vanessa. And I think that Kingpin is going to have a say in whether or not she survives in an episode. And I think that's going to be the cliffhanger. I think ultimately she dies. And I think that probably leads to the end of the season, where their end game for the season is both of them going at it, because his wife's no longer alive, and Matt as Daredevil wants to make things right, get rid of Kingpin. I think that would make the end of that. But, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how many episodes is supposed to be in this thing.
It's supposed to be 8 or 9. Again, the show was originally penned as an 18-episode arc. Now, whether that be 30-minute episodes, then that wouldn't be much. You just combine the two, and you have 9 episodes. So maybe that's what they did here, and they just combined 2 episodes at a time to give you one really juicy episode.
Yeah.
Which I kind of think about it, like I could see in a weird, twisted way how you have the first 15 minutes of episode 1, and then you have another 15 minutes of what happened there, and then roll credits. That's episode 1. That'd be so underwhelming of an episode. One thing I don't know if you caught this. That teenage journalist, BB, that was going around making rounds as a reporter. Do you remember who her uncle was? From season 1. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his
Ben Urich.
He said, "I knew your father." Yeah.
I knew your uncle, yeah. That's his niece. Yeah. So when she goes, when he said that, I'm like, oh my goodness, the tension is real. And she doesn't know. Oh man.
Well, in the cafe, remember he said, do you have any daughters? No. What about you? I had one who was a mentor,
Echo,
but it didn't work out. I think
that was a play on Echo right there.
Yeah, I believe BB probably turns into that for him.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
I will find it interesting if she does, if at all, find out what happened to her uncle.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Again, I take it back to Thanos, where he took over. What's her name?
Gamora.
Gamora. He took Gamora, killed her family, right? But took her as his own and loved her really as his own. I think that maybe BB and Kingpin have that same.
Yeah, you want to talk about a twisted mindset? Yeah, that'd be one way of putting it. That'd be twisted for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But she seems to be kind of enthralled with him as far as his story, his power, his mysticism or mystery. I think that she would kind of, I don't know how she'd feel if she found out, but I mean, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think initially she's drawn to that.
That's what I'm trying to figure. That's why I'm wondering, like at the edge of my seat, if they do have future interactions with each other, I'm like, it's like, that feeling in my gut. You just say it. Like, it's one of those things, if you could scream it at the TV and you think the characters are going to hear, it's like, he killed your family member. Stop hanging around with him. It's again, another reason why this is a great show. It gets you tuned in. You're invested in these characters. And I think 2 episodes in, I think this is, it's not officially season 4, but this is the season 4 we've been waiting for over 6 years well over 6 years from season 3.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like back in 2018 or was
I remember sitting at home binge watching it. Yeah.
It was definitely before Spider-Man No Way Home. So it was, before 2020. I think 2019 was the year. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been that long. So it's great show, and definitely be tuned in if you haven't watched already. So is there anything else that I'm missing? Like any characters, like maybe like you're like maybe raise an eyebrow about, like you don't really take a keen interest in, like they set it where Matthew Murdock has a new firm with some. Again, I mean, this is how little I'm invested in these characters because it's only 2 episodes in. I don't know who the chick is in the law firm that they started. That he started with someone. I'm curious what that's about. Like what's that backstory as to? Yeah,
she
just
was the
lost
one
your
that
best
Foggy
friend.
was talking to. She was talking.
Was that her? I
didn't on Foggy. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. That's something for me to go back and rewatch then. Yeah. All right. So I don't
have anything else to say really, other than I think that the fact that his girlfriend is the therapist between Kingpin and his wife, I think
that's going to be something that I'm wondering. Where's the rubber going to meet the road if it's ever going to be brought up with Matt? Because he knows when people are lying. So if she's like, "Oh, I'm just going to do this," but she's actually doing something with Fisk and Vanessa, at least he can hear that heartbeat. Like Rayson's like, "No, you're not. You're not." I mean, maybe he won't say that, but like he'll have a suspicion about it.
And then moving forward, who's going to be let in that he is Daredevil? Obviously, the investigator knows.
I like that dynamic between them. Yeah, I like that dynamic.
Yeah, I do too.
It's almost like a Batman, Commissioner Gordon kind of dynamic.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, exactly right.
Mm-hmm, it's almost that playoff of like, hey, you have your sources, and I'm the superhero or used to be superhero. You do your thing, and I'll lure whoever needs to be led to you, which is this fellow from the subway that it's like, hey, get there quickly. He's about to head your way.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I forget.
That's it.
Yeah, I forget who it was with the. It was I can't remember the dude's name. We like him. He was an officer in season 1, black guy. He was an officer in season 1, and then like in season 2, he gets the promotion and he's like head chief of like Hell's Kitchen police. I can't remember his name, but it's.
I can't either.
Yeah, it's almost along the lines of that character that they're continuing via someone else though. But like they are at least 2 episodes in. They are making the right hits. They are singing the right notes, and like I can't see. I mean, you take issue with the pothole filling. I think that was just a plot device to set up like, hey, he's not your normal politician, and the citizens of the city see that. And I mean, like they said, it's like, is this the stunt that we want to do? It's like, yes, and you nailed it. Good job, sort of thing.
I think they could have done better at a city hall meeting or something like that, where he's, the deciding vote on whether or not somebody, a community gets, I don't know, an upgrade or more police action. I don't know. I think that would have been a better way to show that. I just thought filling a hole was kind of lowbrow for as good as the 2 episodes were. That was to me the low point. Although I got the point, I just didn't agree. I thought they could have done it better.
I think the threat that he made to the commissioner about like you will get like police officers and their retirement funds, 0 raises, and then he was like going down the list of like things he would do if he stepped down. Now, if it comes to light that, again, I don't think that these rogue officers have anything to do with Kingpin, but like let's go on the hypothetical that he does know nothing about these wannabe Punishers, like Punisher light people out there. He gets wind of that. Like that's when, to your point, there's like a town hall or like a big press conference where he says something like he'll say the buzzwords that some people will hate, but I mean it's relevant to the story. It's like, we've seen these bad cops want to be vigilantes. This, like, the police do not deserve a raise. We must defund the police, and we must allocate those funds where they need to be for the time being until we see improvement in their department. Like, something along those lines where you, like, because, again, with that funeral, I thought like it was a perfect starting point to end point where it's like you see Wilson Fisk interact with the commissioner. I think police commissioner, right? He was the police commissioner he was talking to, wasn't it? Yeah. Or was it a different title he has? Yeah, he's connecting with he's chatting with the police commissioner after the funeral. Like from that point A to get to point B where he's eating subs because with wiretapping, like who knows, like everything's being recorded. And so he does the show-a-roo to the police commissioner about his family or his love family. It's like, what would that dynamic be if if that police commissioner does not know anything about them being about those officers being Punisher light wannabes out there? Like that, like I would be interested in seeing that interaction with Wilson Fisk and him, and Wilson saying like, at least I put my him taking a high horse here, like his supposed high horse, because he has a secret empire still, but the public doesn't know that. So like imagine that interaction that could be where you have him and the police commissioner, him rightfully so, if he finds out about these officers and the connection with the Punisher, it's like, hey, you accused me of not being true to the city and protecting our city. Who are these guys that you're letting onto your actual police force? Explain yourself. And so, we'll leave it right there, though. And we'll definitely wrap it up right there for sure. Great having you on, as always. And again, thank you earlier to Easton Freeze and RJ Ellison for joining the show, talking about Titans and James Bond and Avengers and all that stuff. So thank you for being on the show, Dad. And be sure
My pleasure.
Yeah, and be sure you, the viewer, you like, comment, subscribe, comment below what you think about the topics that we discussed today. Do you have various opinions? Do you disagree or agree with what we said? What do you think about Daredevil Born Again? Is it the continuing greatness of Netflix, or do you prefer the Netflix shows over this new continuation of Daredevil? My name's Joshua Mickle. And until next time, guys, keep kicking it to the king.